Before we start off this video, this is in no way 100% fact. This tier list is my own opinion and nothing more. If you feel a hero is wrongfully placed, feel free to disagree in the comments, but please try not to be disrespectful. Now that that's out of the way, let's begin. But before we get started, today's video is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends. Raid is a turn-based RPG done right. I know you've already heard about Raid everywhere, but there's a great reason for it. Raid is one of the top 3 ranked RPGs on the Google Play Store and has just been nominated as a finalist for Google Play's Best of 2019 Users' Choice Award. So what is Raid exactly? It's an epic dark fantasy done right. A hero collection turn-based game with over 400 champions for you to collect and personally customize. You can gather orcs, undead knights, elves, and more. You can also assemble a team from 16 heroic factions and explore over 1 million champion builds. And the best part about this, it's free to play. There's also some extra cool features in the game, such as multi-battle auto mode, which set battles to run in auto mode while you go do something else. You spend less time grinding and more time developing your teams and fighting the fun stuff. There's also weekly tournaments and events. Fighting in the arena, running special dungeons, or just leveling up your heroes, there's always a way to compete and win extra prizes every week. But the game is growing super fast, guys. Check out this roadmap they published. They actually have huge plans for updates in the game for over 6 months. So there's an infinite amount of content for you to enjoy and no time to get bored. There's a new faction, a tag team arena feature, and even a new clan boss you will be able to fight with your clanmates. You can find me under the nickname shown on screen right now, and if you're quick enough, you can also join my clan. So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to the video description, click the special links, and you will get 50,000 silver and a free epic champion as part of the new player program to start your journey. Good luck, and I'll see you there. Also, thank you to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video. Starting off with D tier, we have Centurion. Centurion is getting his rework soon, but as of right now, he's just not that great. His offense is pretty lackluster. His defense is as well. The only way for you to win with Centurion is to go for the wall splat, which is hard if your opponent decides to not play against the walls. And your other option to win is if your opponent is parry happy and you catch him with the fully charged heavy. But if your opponent is smart and they don't parry your attacks, you're going to be in for a bad time. Jormungandr is a defensive hero, a very passive hero at that. He really just waits around and tries to punish you before you throw an attack by jabbing you or just jabbing you in neutral and hoping that your stamina can dwindle down and he can get his 50 damage punish. His real shine is, of course, when your opponent is out of stamina. That's when he can either let go of his unblockable and get 80 damage for the entire punish, or just jab you one more time, knock you down, and get 50 damage. That's his whole game plan. So if you know that, you can try to react to his bashes. They are reactable, but you have to be on point. But other than that, his offense is very lackluster and easily countered. Next up, we have Nobushi. Nobushi is a very defensive hero, just like Yorm. He plays very passive and tries to punish your opponents using hidden stance. But if you're on point with your reactions, you can kind of deal with the lights, the kick, the sidewinder. Everything Nobushi has, you can deal with it if your reactions are on point. You just have to practice the matchup and you'll come to find out that Nobushi really isn't that tough to beat. And last in D tier, we have Orochi. Now, you may be surprised that I put Orochi in D tier, but he has a very similar problem to Centurion, to where all your opponent has to do is really just block. If your opponent is good at blocking, he can shut down Orochi. Orochi has no real pressure from hitting your guard and continuing his strings if you are really good at blocking. And Orochi doesn't have the highest health pool in the game. It's not absolutely terrible, but it's nothing to brag about. All right, moving on to C tier. First up, we have Valkyrie. Valkyrie's heavy into bash is one of the main things most Valkyrie players use to get their damage in, but it is pretty reactable if you practice it enough and train against it enough. So that kind of just leaves Valkyrie with her sweep, but it has been buffed, so you can throw out your sweep a little bit more reliably. If you just throw out a heavy and then get into your chain without doing the bash, you can pretty easily get into your sweep, and it's hard to punish now that's been updated. So that's why I place Valkyrie at C tier. You're still going to have problems with Valkyrie. The lights will get predictable if you abuse them enough, and your opponents will start to parry them, so you want to just be careful and play it pretty passive and defensive. Next up, we have Kensei. Now, Kensei is one of the soft feint gods in this game. A lot of soft feints with this character. It can pretty much mix you up pretty good if you know what you're doing. But that being said, I feel like you do have to work very hard to get your wins, and way harder than some of the characters listed in the higher tiers. So that's why I place Kensei at C tier. Not because he's just bad, it's just that he has to work way harder than other heroes to get the same results. Next up, we have Shaolin. Now, Shaolin can really be shut down by blocking top and reacting to the attacks on any other side. So you just want to keep an eye out for if he does any of the side lights and be quick to parry them, and then distinguish between a light and a heavy, and then you can stop his heavy attacks by parrying those as well. And then you effectively shut down Shaolin, and really all you have to do is keep up that pressure, so just in case you slip up, you don't allow him to get in the key stance. That's the biggest thing. Once he gets in the key stance, he can really start playing some mind games with you and start getting his damage in. But just remember, just block top and you'll be okay. Next up, we have Shigoki. Now, Shigoki did get a little bit of a tweak, but if you just keep your distance from Shigoki and backwalk and dodge roll out of his charge heavy into hug mix up, you can pretty much avoid it. And that just leaves him with his unblockable lights and his unblockable heavy without charging it all the way up. So that's really all he has to work with. He does have a good health pool though, so that's one of the main things that benefit him. He's more of a defensive character, so don't try to get too aggressive unless you know you have your opponent against the wall or backed up against the wall and he can't really escape from you. Next up, we have Highlander. Now, Highlander used to be a lot higher on this tier list, but he's been knocked down, not due to him getting any nerfs, although he did get a little bit of a nerf recently. They changed up how his offensive stance worked, but it's just because there's a lot more heroes that can deal with Highlander now. That's why he's in C tier. Highlander is a really good hero when you have someone that can't punish his kick to grab mix up with a dodge attack. You can really get some good mix up going once you get in the offensive stance. And if you want to beat Highlander, you need to stay in his face and not allow him whatsoever to get in offensive stance. Keep the pressure up, don't allow him to get in offensive, and you'll have an easy time fighting Highlander. Up next, we have Nucia. Nucia has a unique mechanic with her traps, and they are very effective, but there are ways around them. You can just press your emote when you see the trap, and you will be able to avoid the trap by just using your emote within battle, which I don't feel like it should be a thing, but it is. So you can use that to your advantage and dodge all of Nucia's traps just by practicing a little bit and getting that timing and that reaction speed down. The 400 MS lights in her chain are very good as well, so you want to be wary of that. Try not to let Nucia get into her chain because those lights will tag you. Next up, we have the newly released character Jang Hu. And this character, a lot of people kind of felt underwhelmed. It wasn't as great as it seemed to be. When we first saw the reveal, those unblockable lights and the unblockable heavy really seemed overpowered, but once people got it in their hands, it's kind of hard to really apply that pressure, because first you have to get into the chain and people can, you know, shut you down if they're, you know, they're good enough. And certain timings with the dodge heavy and the dodge light, you can dodge out of them at a certain timing to avoid everything. So it may be kind of hard to use your dodge attacks. They are 400 MS, but you do have to go through your dodge animation first. So if someone has a full guard mechanic on their character, they could just full guard when you dodge and get a free punish for you attacking basically from any dodge attack. So that's why I have Jang Hu in C tier. Let's move on to the last one, Shinobi. Shinobi is, I feel like, one of the most passive characters in the game. The very low health pool kind of promotes this, and the range attacks also promote it. So basically, Shinobi will just hit and run. You just use a hit and run technique to kind of annoy the opponent into doing what Shinobi wants. All you have to do is slowly walk Shinobi down and pick and choose when you want to engage with Shinobi and slowly dwindle away that low health pool to win. Moving on to B tier, we have Peacekeeper. Peacekeeper has definitely moved up on this tier list due to her recent changes. The recent changes were that once you apply bleed to your opponent, her lights are now enhanced. So now you can throw a light, and even if it hits the guard, you can still continue into your combo. So what this does is that every time you throw a light, you start doing chip damage, and you can get right back into that bleed mix-up or guard break mix-up, however you choose fit, or you can just keep throwing lights and slowly tick away at that health. So if opponent has bleed on them and they're really low on health, you can literally just light spam them or just throw heavies and make them bleed to death, which is really good. The zone on Peacekeeper is really solid. Just an overall very solid hero. It does take a lot of skill because you have to get your deflex in there as well, and the low health pool on Peacekeeper may steer some people away. So it's definitely a skillful character. If you play Peacekeeper, kudos to you, because that is one of the more skillful characters in the game. Next up in B tier, we have Warlord. Now I feel like this placement for Warlord is pretty suitable. He is he has a mix between them. He goes offensive and defensive. You have to find that rhythm with Warlord to really get the most out of him. You want to annoy your opponent with the headbutts and the lights, because now that his lights are enhanced, now you can really start to get into your combo and start throwing out heavies for chip damage, or you could just throw double lights for chip damage and then follow up with headbutt, because once you throw that second light, your opponent is in block stun long enough that if they try to attack you after you throw your light, you'll hit them with your headbutt, which is really good. So it's all about getting that small bits of damage with Warlord and really like taking chips away from your opponent until they die. Up next, we got Zhang Jun, another defensive character that relies on his Sifu stance. What it is basically you can cancel your combos, or you can cancel the recovery on your combos and go into Sifu stance to create some space between you and your opponent and hopefully bait them in to try to attack, and you can punish with your zone. Or you can just use it to retreat and gather your stamina back up to get back into your offense. JJ in the right hands can be pretty annoying to fight and pretty strong too. So watch out for any high level Zhang Juns you might fight. It's going to be a tough one if they know what they're doing. Next up, we have Gladiator. Gladiator has moved up to B tier from the last tier list because of the little updates he gotten. He has his lights, which are a little bit faster now, and his toe stab speed has been increased when your opponent is out of stamina. It used to be that once your opponent was out of stamina, your toe stab was slower, but now that's not the case. And along with his good zone and increased recovery after the toe stab, it's harder to punish the toe stab as well. So that just makes him a lot less punishable on his moves. And last in B tier, I actually put Orochi here. Orochi got a slight tweak to where you can't just always back dodge his deadly feints, because he can bait you and guard break you if you do it now. He got a little bit of extra forward momentum when he does his heavy finisher, so you can always just feint into GB and catch an opponent back dodging. So that's huge now. He still does lack an opener. That's why I say play him more defensively and really just try to bait your opponent into throwing a parryable attack, or just using your blockade to really get your combos going. Now moving on to A tier. First up, we have Raider. Raider in the previous tier list I had used to be S tier because of his stunning tab. Now that that's been switched to the storming tab and it's lost its stun ability, it's a little bit easier to block Raider's follow-up attacks after getting hit with a stunning tap, which just moved him down a bit in the tier list. He's still a very good hero, but just moved him down a bit. Next up, we have Hitokiri. Hitokiri was also a S tier hero, moved down because of the slight changes Hitokiri received. Hitokiri can no longer just try to just heavy you on red now. The armor activates a little bit slower. So if you can, fit an attack before that armor activates, you can just stop Hitokiri from, getting that chain going and getting that kick into sweep pressure. But it's still there though. If you get hit with a heavy, or if you block a heavy, Hitokiri can still go right into that really strong mix up and really just destroy your health bar in an instant. So you still want to be careful. Hitokiri is still very strong, but just not as strong as he once was. Next up in A tier, we have Shaman. Shaman is just an all-around balanced hero, just a very, very good, well thought out hero. It's not too overpowered, it's not weak at all. It's a very good hero if you want to pick up. It takes some time to learn Shaman. Shaman has the bleed mechanic, or the bite mechanic, that when you apply your bleed, you can go for a bite that does 50 damage. And you can kind of mix up your opponent to make them fall for your bite too. You can cancel your pounce. You can throw out a leaping heavy if need be to throw them off. There's a lot of things you can do with Shaman. A pretty good zone as well. Nice saw feints to apply bleed. Overall, Shaman is just a very good hero. Now, last in A tier, we have Tiandi. Tiandi is one of those characters that I just hate to fight because of just how, you know, overall good his moveset is. He has a very good bash, very, very quick lights, a solid zone. You just can't go wrong with this character, and a pretty solid health bar, might I add as well. Just a very overall solid hero. Has great dodge heavies that have a lot of iframes on them, and you can cancel them into quick undodgeable lights. So there's a lot of mix-up potential there if you need it, and he has the potential to light and bash you if needed be. So he has a lot in his toolbox to really keep you on edge and apply that damage. Starting off, we have Berserker. Berserker has been great for a pretty long time now. Just a solid zone that hits 4 times. You're able to follow up after the zone. He has saw feints that have armor on them, and very, very quick, might I add. You can delay them as well. Just a very good hero. Just can trade with the best of them. And for an assassin, has a pretty good health pool, might I add too. So Berserker is just that all-around beast, man. If you want to pick him up, he can also cancel his recovery with a dodge. So you can throw out an unblockable heavy with it and still dodge and get a deflect if need be. So this is just a very, very good hero. Next up, we have Warden. And if you play For Honor, you know about Warden. Warden's shoulder bash, it's just flat out good. It's just flat out like a good move. Like, there's no real need to use anything else but this bash if you want to. Of course, you can throw out his lights, which are all, you know, his lights are good, his lights are quick. He has a double light if he connects with one of the side lights. He has a dashing heavy that can catch rolls. He just has everything in his kit to beat any type of playstyle. That's the main thing I would say about Warden. He just has something that can deal with everything. So that's why Warden is S tier. Next up, we have Black Prior. Black Prior can be very, very defensive, but at the same time, he can really pressure you with some of his moves. He has a really good mix up with his light into undodgeable heavy or his light into bash. So that can be a lot of damage if you get caught with the right thing. Like, let's say your opponent catches you, you can get hit with that unblockable heavy that does a lot of damage, or you can just get light to bash spammed pretty much for, I believe it does 30 damage or 28 damage. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it does a very, very solid amount of damage. Also, he has the flip mechanic, so after he blocks an attack, he can go straight into the flip. So you need to be careful about the attacks you throw out against Black Prior, because he can definitely flip you if you become predictable. Next up in S tier, we have Lawbringer. Now, Lawbringer, with his latest little fix-up rework, he just became an absolute beast. Highest health pool in the game, and very, very defensive at that. It's hard. It's very, very difficult to kind of get some wins off Lawbringer if they're playing great defense. If they're just sitting there waiting for you to do something, Lawbringer can be very, very hard to beat. He has some of the best parry punishes in the game, hands down. Can straight up melt you if he gets his combo going. Not to mention, just in between his combos, he can bash you. He can catch you if you dodge by hitting you with side lights. And he has a 400 ms top light that pokes you for 15 damage. Just overall a monster, man. You don't want to fight a good Lawbringer. You're going to be in for a bad time. And next up, and last but not least, we have Honk. Honk has been in S tier for, man, who knows how long. How many seasons has it been? It's been a lot of seasons. since Conk has been at the top. And rightfully so. He has very, very good defense. The characters that have top tier defense are placed in S tier, and Conk is definitely one of them. Conk has great option select with the zone. You use your zone, you block all incoming attacks, except unblockables, of course, and you use a counter attack at the same time. Has a very good bash. If he gets you out of stamina, it's kind of GG at that point, because now you have to guess between, is it a bash? Is it a bash? Is it a delayed bash? Is it a guard break? You have to deal with all this stuff when you're out of stamina with Conk, and he can get you out of stamina pretty easily if you don't watch yours. So that concludes today's tier list. I hope you all enjoyed. Please feel free to comment in the comment section. Tell me what you think is wrong, what you think is right. Again, this is 100% my opinion. This is not fact. Please don't go by this list as fact. Guys, you can have your own opinion about these things, and I want to hear it down in the comment section below. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.